Hey everyone, I'm Pete Dalliday. Welcome to another edition of Hometown PTBO. This is Tim Farquharson. He is the outgoing deputy police chief, or you were chief, you were acting chief for a while, but back to deputy chief, but then you're going to be chief again.
Correct.
In Port Hope. Yeah. There'll be a test later. But not born in Peterborough, but you came here at a pretty young age, so you're pretty, you've been around in Peterborough longer than I've been in Peterborough before I was born. So therefore, I think that qualifies you as basically raised here. You came here in the late 60s?
Yeah, about 69.
Yeah.
1969.
Okay.
So I was about 8 years old, 7 years old.
Yeah. And what a time to come to Peterborough, because the late 60s, early 70s, I mean, fun times. GE was packed with 5,000 people. Quaker was packed. Outboard
Marine.
Police force had like 52 people maybe at the most working for them.
Different times.
What brought you here? Why did your parents come on?
It was just my dad wanted to be home more, and he was a furniture sales manufacturer's agent, so he traveled Eastern Ontario.
Okay.
So I was born in Toronto, but we quickly, with 4 kids, moved to Peterborough. Yep. And it was basically a quality of life decision.
Yeah,
we never looked back, right? And it took me about 10 months to get acclimatized to Peterborough, and then it's been home ever since.
Okay. Did I not see you once at a Gilmore Street garage sale back in the early days? Is that where you grew up?
That's where I grew up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Gilmore Street. Yeah.
Didn't Neil Young's dad live on Gilmore Street? Did you live near him?
He was down Scott? Further. I was just, we were just right at the Monaghan Road.
Okay.
Probably 3 houses from Monaghan Road.
Right. Okay. That's kind of where it starts, the sales kind of like, that's where you...
Yeah, they were down further.
Yeah.
By McCartney's place.
They were closer to Park Street, I think, right?
Yes.
Like a little further down there. Okay. But a cool area to grow up. Did you go to PCVS then, or what high school
I went
did you go
to Queen Mary first for public school, then went off to PCVS for grade 9 and 10, then went to Lakefield College School for 11, 12, and 13.
Okay. And through your journey at Queen Mary and PCVS, did you stumble across... He'd be a bit younger than you, but like the Sebastian Bachs or the Sean Cullens or any of those famous PCVS grads?
Yeah, the Sebastian Bach was, he hung out at our neighbors, the Tick-Combs.
Yeah, they lived in the...
2 doors over, and he hung around with their kids. So, so they were all those little brats that...
Did you have to arrest them the night he got into some trouble? Were you involved in that?
No, I wasn't involved. I wasn't involved in
that. You were just like, I can't. I know him. He's a childhood friend.
Yeah.
So you have a great policing career here. You've done it since day one. Like you knew, did you go at Fleming sort of thing for police foundations, or how did you get into it?
I was actually too short to get on in the beginning. It was 5'11", 185, I believe. I'm 5'9". Yeah, so I couldn't get on because of my height, and that was back in the early 80s, late 70s. So somebody fought that. So you look at charter arguments. Yeah. Right, charter, it helped me. So I had to go to Trent for a year. And
grow a little bit?
And grow a bit. Go to Fleming for 2 years, then Carleton University, and then I got a call. I'd already applied before, and then a year later, somehow that came off, and it just was height in relation to weight, proportion to weight. So I got a call from Deputy Chief Gord Dawson, and he said, "Are you still interested?" I said, "Absolutely."
Wow.
This is what I always wanted to do, right?
Yeah. Well, what do you remember about your first couple shifts? Like what... Peterborough was a different town then. I mean, we're talking, what, the 80s here at this point?
Yeah, so when I started, it was 1986.
Okay.
So you're with a coach officer, and I remember that piece of it. But I just remember the community police model here and how important every single person is. And that was driven into me by my coach officer, Rob Laux, and the other coach officer I had was Jeff Curl. Both of them drove that into me from the beginning. Just how important every single call is, because it might be the first time somebody sees the police. And we try and drive that into... younger recruits with our coach officers. It's all about people. Everything's about people.
I think I ran into you guys the next year or two, 87, 88. Me and my buddies were starting to drive and whatever. We got pulled over a few times for nothing too serious, but you guys were just easy to talk to, and I just remember those times giving us a bit of a break. So
on the stunt driving.
Thank you for that, by the way. I think I remember Ogrodnik pulling us over one time. Park Hill Road, and he was just looked in, saw who it was, and it was like,
senior
boys,
or junior?
Junior.
Junior, okay.
Yeah. And it's just simpler times, I guess, back then a little bit. But you've seen a lot of things. I mean, not to make this into a negative or whatever, but you, as an officer, probably, is there a case or two that stands out that, not to get into details, but you just can't forget about?
I mean, you have obviously the first shooting of Mike Dennis when we were working in Peterborough, and Mike Dennis was shot again with Dennis Hobson. So you had
you don't
both
forget those.
Incidents were huge, and we were working for both of them and out there.
Yeah.
Those are some of the big ones. There's other. You had the passing of Bruce Sayre at work. Right, he was just weeks away from his retirement and passed away at the front desk, and you're there. There's those sad. There's a lot of sadness, but then there's a lot of really, really amazing stories. And like you said, Peterborough was a different town back in the 80s. Completely different town. Kids were riding their bicycles at 9 o'clock at night. Didn't tell their parents where they were. You just came home. You'd feel free to go anywhere. It didn't matter if it was 2 or 3 in the morning.
And you've seen a change, and you tried to do your best to make a difference, not only at the office, but even outside your hours, standing out in the cold. And you were kind of like on top of sort of the homeless and the sort of the drug issues in this town 10 years ago, and now it's kind of like it's in the news every day, but you kind of saw it coming, and you tried to help early.
Yeah, and it was a passion of mine, because I was on the road for six years answering calls, and then I was blessed to go back into the detective office and work my way through there, from sexual assault to major crime to active crime to drugs. And that's where my passion became, in drugs and intelligence, around organized crime groups, criminal gangs, and the drug trafficking. So that was fully where I was, and believed in that, and believed enforcement was the only way, but or was the major way to solve this. But then over the years, you find that that's not the case, and that's where my passion started to change. That would have been the early 2000s.
Yeah, and congrats on that. I mean, you made a big difference. So you're retiring officially, but then you're taking on the big job in Port Hope, and but we'll continue to see you. You continue to sort of live here in Peterborough, sort of deal. You're not leaving us completely, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm just outside the city.
Yeah.
It's 30-minute drive down to Port Hope from Peterborough. It's not far at all. The main thing is I'll be there at the events. That's the hardest piece, is moving your community fundraising events, the boards you sit on. I'll obviously have to move those and transition those to Port Hope. But I'll never lose contact with this amazing community and amazing people here, right? It's always been my home, but now it's going to be Port Hope, where I have to concentrate. It's about public safety down there. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge, because they're great people as well.
Great community, for sure. Shout out to Trinity College down in Port Hope.
That was our old challenge.
Keep a watch on those guys.
Lakefield College School. So that was my first experiences down in Port Hope. But I love the community, love everything that it offers. So that piece of it's great. And being a smaller police service, we rely on each other. So as we were saying before, Peterborough is still like the big brother to Port Hope and Coburg, in the way that the drone, the ERT, the K9 teams, that type of thing, that we share those resources. We'll have to do more of that.
Keep the golf clubs in the cruiser, the back of the cruiser, or whatever.
You see my golf game?
We'll get to the Port Hope Golf and Country Club one day. We'll sneak
You'll have to hide behind the cart and duck down.
It's all good.
Worst golfer ever. But
Tim, congratulations on a great run here in Peterborough. Good luck down in Port Hope. All right.
Appreciate it, man.
There you go. You've been watching Hometown PTBO. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Hometown PTBO, brought to you by Darling Insurance.